we will go to the next session devoted to issues of transparency, and we will speak about anti-corruption frame of recovery in Ukraine. Our speaker will be Olena Shuliak, the People's Deputy Head of the Verkhovna Rada Committee for Organization of State Power, Local Self-Government, Regional Development and City Planning. Good afternoon, Olena, and the moderator, the one who will make a small interview with you, and our board member, partner of a legal company, Arzinger, Anzhelika Livitska. Please, Anzhelika. Yeah, very happy to be with you. I have a marvelous speaker, the person whom I know for 20 more years, Olena. Why this discussion happens today? Because our statistics are very sad, because according to statistic data, it was said that corruption is a problem for 50% of people in Ukraine, and after the war, after our survey in Ukraine, it showed that 71% were saying that corruption is a disaster in Ukraine. So during the war, I will not say again about the big scandal. All of us we know about this. So it's a pest of the society. We know that you work about the action plan, and can you tell us in short about the main players who will implement it, and what we should expect in the nearest future? What will be the changes in the legislation, and how positive they will be for the society? Good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear representatives of communities and experts. We with Anzhelika, we are very limited by time, and we will go faster. If we speak about anti-corruption frame and recovery, and it is not enough legislatory acts. We need so that every branch of power would work, local self-government, and for sure lots of things depend on government, and even more on the civil society that do not allow corruptioners to sleep quietly. We see the topics that should be in focus of society. So we need them to work from four sides on this. But in short, what we should be focused now, first of all, when we speak about recovery and anti-corruption measures, we should start with planning. And today, at the level of legislation, government, and the legislation, a lot of things are done because we cannot go without precise rules, without transparency and publicity. And so if we look at the country, we have three levels of planning: strategic, dimensional, and budget. And if we put order in all these types of planning, if they are synchronized between themselves, so for 40% we will not have questions about anti-corruption actions in this field. So you know there is a strategy of the regional level adopted on the national level, and we have 22 regional strategies approved, and a lot of local strategies. People are working. Some people are smiling, I see, but it is not enough. The number of strategies. These strategies should have their instruments. Next instrument, some once once the Gromada they won over the parliament, they put aside until 2026 the plans of dimensional development is the city planning documentation, without which we cannot go according to the plan. But we planned this since the first January of 2025, every community will have this plan, which will be introduced into city planning cadastre. So communities didn't have time, and they promised to us until 2028 budget planning. Since 2024, we have a huge reform which is going on about public investment management. Today, you can go into the website of Minister of Finances of Ukraine. You can open state project portfolio. You will see 128 project and from 2 trillion hryvnias, and you will see the industries of this project. This portfolio is supported by a regional portfolio, and every community will add their own. And so it would be nice to synchronize all these levels. And once again, this is a huge task for the government and local and district government to synchronize everything. Second big field without which we cannot make a recovery, all the processes that are related to digitalization. All of you, you work with big dream system, hundreds of communities, thousands of projects they field, and it would be nice that the logics which we provided at the beginning of creation of dream. It would be nicer to know what that you see, what is the project, who gave birth to the project, how the money will be used, and we hope that the dream will be integrated with other registers and digital systems. It continues, it develops, and it studies, and I hope that publicity of information on dream will provide to reduce these corruption risks. City cadastre, for many years we have a discussion that we need city planning code and city cadastre, but I don't know about code, but we have cadastre already, 7 cadastres, 7 communities. They have dimensional plans of development. They already uploaded to this cadastre. Lots of city plans are uploaded, and the most important, not to have this cadastre as a empty shell, but to be filled. Next story is connected to, of course, to procurement, public procurement. We have a Prozoro. Prozoro is working. There are people who know how to bypass Prozoro. They know how to cheat it. And for us, for experts and for Minister of Economy, those who are responsible for public procurement, we needed to make it so tight there is no any single crack that and especially we will have so big tenders for recovery. About other technologies, I will not tell you. Being construction standards, we cannot arrive to this conclusion that all construction standards would be done free for all people who build, because in Parliament we have some lobbyists, but we'll hope that it will be as in all other civilized countries, and also the corruption. We today have the monopoly that can be born. Today I will be speaking today about the monopoly on the market of consultant engineers, and our task is so that such monopolies would never appear. And of course, 1077, the draft law, I don't know if it passes, because it introduces criminal responsibility for all participants of construction business. Despite your designer, your constructor, your builder, what you will have the criminal responsibility and not only administrative. So this is the last one of the last of my slides. Thanks to civil society and journalists, we know the we know the term of notion agreement. It describes only one case. It relates to a big land plot, and just imagine $4 million, just a bribe for a document which is called construction permit, and it appears just before the delivery of the design. So just for one document, according to this agreement contract, the bribe was $4 million, and the general amount of bribes for all construction process would be $20 million. So, but it's only one side, and just imagine if we speak about small cracks where such bribes can penetrate, we should think. We should think how to close all these cracks, and of course, why they became possible. Of course, the absence of city building documentation and the city development map was adopted in 1999, and it was supposed it will be working until 2020. And as on today, we don't have the plan for dimensional development. We have just only city territory planning plans. We should go to the planning department, and of course it creates all these risks as I was speaking before. So there is a solution: development of plans of dimensional development, putting into the cadastre and the public approach to this data. What can happen? Where is the historical territories of industrial sites and some plots? And so, without this, we will not fight it never. And so, please, I call for you and develop the dimensional plans, and there will be no corruption. Where there will be no corruption. Next thing where we should be focused. Digitalization. Our colleagues were speaking a lot before we started. Everything should be digitalized, all documents in city building, and these documents, they should not have the status of permit or quasi-permit. It should just be an extract from city cadastre. Any person would push on a button and will get all these explanations of what can be built and where and what are the limitations. So permits, we move with city planning department moving on. So we consider that all functionaries should be put away from all these permits. But today we have a huge number of registers. They integrated, and the systems they allow to check everything in order to block all the permits, or just to provide information if the information is relevant to reality to provide this permit. Today we just partially put into automatic mode the permit for start of construction mode, and I hope that not a single functionary will be able to check the documentation as the system could do. Also, the commissioning, when there is a commissioning and lots of participants of the process who take decisions. That is the most important, that every responsibility will be documented in the system, and we will see if it is a functionary or just a general contractor who signed what, so we would be capable and define it and impose the responsibility. Construction norms, I was speaking, because it is not a construction forum, I will not stop. So automatic permits, I told you, information registers is also existing. Automatic check can happen. System can block in case of any infringement, and of course in all the world, including us. Artificial intelligence is used. I tried myself, so it checks any estimates much faster than the experts. Monopoly. The monopoly is the way to corruption. We spoke about this, and today we understand that despite the city planning conditions and limitations, the corruption quasi-permit, but they are delivered only in self-government bodies. But what can be the fuse? We should break this monopoly to have an arbitrage, because such pre-trial complaining body can be GM, and we should put away this monopoly. SSM, 2 these are the bodies that received the powers, but of course I consider that the customer, state or private customer, would should decide where to go, to central body or to local self-government. Monopoly through certification of performers. So, colleagues, I see the representatives of this industry. It should be overcome. Today we have the experience when the certification of architects and the qualification improvement is done by some high educational institutions. I think that we can take the statistics and compare what would be better if it when it was one body was doing, or just when the applicant has the choice where to go. It is also about the monopoly of connection to grids. It's very easy to open the information to the maximum, especially for the designers, to get the best solutions, but not to listen to the monopolist advice. So to say, you go there, you pay some money, and you cannot check where will be the best solution. Oh, so the last slide. What we should not do, we should stop it on all levels. Our engineer consultants, as an example of efficient regulation. As of today in Ukraine, in the register, according to the last data, we have 100 entries. That the persons have the status of engineer consultant. 60 of them, they have the higher category of skills, and 43% that can work on SS3 document sites. But what we have in the documents of the government, it says that there is it says that the salary of an engineer consultant is 3% of the estimate costs, and the responsibility of a consultant today is 0, just according to the contract, but it's 0. But and we come to system of public investments, and I was speaking about the portfolio, and when we look at 2026, what we wanted to spend, it will be 216 billion. If we take 3%, it will be 3 it is 3 billion hryvnias what potentially consultants can get. Now there is an active work on all levels just to make the work of an engineer consultant as compulsory on every level if it is government money. So I just ask self-government bodies. It will touch you if the government will decide you will go to these 43 consultants, they will get 33% of the cost without responsibility for nothing. I will continue to show this slide, and because this is the top of the iceberg, and we looked at how many contracts from public part were signed for engineer consultants. It was more than 2.4 billion hryvnias. To this year, it's more than 5 billion hryvnias. Next year, it will be even bigger. But if the position becomes compulsory, it will be a very bad result. We cannot say that it is bad as engineer consultant, but the customer should select will they be 43 consultant on much more numerous. This is all from my side. We can continue endlessly. Thank you, and very beautiful speaker, and your applause, please. 3 questions from the hall and from me. So please, I just remember when we were doing the Diama reform, the times were difficult, and we were thinking if we would survive. Thank you for your position, for your transparency to make the best regulation. But where do you think there will be the biggest resistance? Self-government bodies, self-government bodies, they are different. Some of them, they want to have investments and private capital to come. They would build industrial facilities, and there are big cities. They say we are good as we are. We don't want digitalization, no law 655, don't break our monopoly. We will do as we do. Permit before starting, and you saw the operation Clear City, 4 million was the example. So that depends if we introduce the city planning control, and out of 1,000 communities, only 100 they received. It means they are not interested. But if you introduce some radical approaches, they become somewhat fearful. But I'm sure that civil decentralization and digitalization, sometimes sharply, but they can bring to changes. 81% the people are not ready to go to solve the corruption. When in 2019 we were planned to create one single register in the construction field, and people were laughing at us. It's very good that people were laughing when we introduced the 655 law. And now, when we introduced the single register in the construction, we agree that if we did not believe that we will not be able, people will not allow us. But the second question, the energy market for today, we have donors. Do you take into account the anti-corruption frame and compare with European experience? Do you take into account in European integration field Yes, we take into account, we have the state anti-corruption program, and it's very well designed there, and so there is a very good compliance with programs of an anti-corruption agency. So I think that everything about cadastre and city planning and the plots, there will be visible. And but as for the standards, we have to speak about the security. We should build everything with the shelters, and of course, and green recovery. It is one of the priorities already now in the security field, and of course, inclusivity, bareless, and we cannot move under modern rules without this. And of course, because a lot of people became people with disabilities. We did a lot on the paper, but when we go out of this hall, we will move on in the streets. We will have to see. We need to do a lot. So thank you. But the last question from you: the D day, when it will be, when we will see that we wanted to introduce all these approaches realistically, where we will wait an introduction of all this European integration, transparent approach. I would like to say this year, but it is not the law on regulation 355 about construction materials. We lied. We wrote for 4 years and we approved for 2 years, and the protection of investors, we wrote for 7 years. We passed through the previous parliament, and we didn't do, but we do it now. So automatic permits, we stopped them, but I am sure that it could not be reversible road. So come back. So just to say that let's wind up these electronic elements. Well, let's stop a dream, and but it will not be paceable. So well, let's hope. But for us, it is not. It is not as a basic law of recovery is not voted. We don't have even as legislation the term of what is it recovery. It is to rebuild what was before, or just a recovery. Following the social and industrial economic development. Thank you, and applause to our fantastic speaker. 3 questions from the room. Let me come to you. Maybe the question for some Andrei from Star Constantinium. Water supply company, maybe not in the topic, but it's about the digitalization. I'm worrying. Please worry. So there is a layer of people of Ukraine. They don't have personal individual numbers, and they use the old passport data, and so they don't use this D application. What do you know about this problem as a DPL deputy? Yes, I am a DPL deputy. They pay taxes, they have businesses, but do you understand? So do you understand that you will they are always speaking about? You didn't say anything. Please be respectful to the speaker. If the person cannot use D, she can go to center of administrative services or social services, and people will help you to get the service for which you count. This service can have different character, starting from recovery, and finally by medical services, educational, and so. But I recommend everyone to get these numbers. We are in the top 5 countries in the world with digital services. We are proud of the achievements in digitalization. I will not promote. These people who are within the uh, actual legislation. Thank you for your question. So we agree that it will be, it will. We agreed that 3 questions. I'm sorry, we have 4 more people. Vyacheslav Paluka, Energy Efficiency Cities of Ukraine Association. When I speak to municipal companies during the procurement process and different international project, they never complain about project and EBRD, NEFCO, and so everything is okay. And these procurement done through FIDIC rules. These rules are approachable and we can use it. Is it correct to just to adopt them in the national procurement system? So we follow the principle, as Andrei was saying, we put 2 things incompatible. So we use something that is not compatible with FIDIC, and we cannot FIDIC you now. So instead of improve the practices, we put people into the worse practice. What is the logic of such changes? We should move into the principles of European approaches for purchasing and management. The companies that support as consultants, they are responsible for what they do, while us they don't do. FIDIC, they provide for this, but why don't we go into this sense? FIDIC that supposes this. We spoke about digitalization, and in the world we have not only FIDIC but even a dozen of different contracts. So our task is, if EBRD works with FIDIC, let it work with EBIDIC. Other institution can work with other platform. The most important, there will be no monopoly. As of today, the discussion is very broad, and we need to change a lot as people work in the European Union in the public procurement. One more question, please present Petro Gibitsky and see consultant. So very good presentation. And the first slide I see is a generative artificial intellect is used just for visualization. I wrote my text with my hands, but for visualization, maybe you will open a curtain. What the state? What does the state have as new instruments? Maybe some science fiction besides what we just announced today from positive things. So digitalization, we will make it broader. I cannot even have a dream about 3 things. Just give us a kind of hope. Recently, I was looking and studying the practices of European Union. We speak today a lot about planning, and we want to rebuild our cities better than before. And sometimes we don't have enough vision how to do it. In European Union, there is a big technism when they create a city, a twin city, when you create a district and some network, and you select the best solution. I would like that we have such possibilities here. But if we dream, as of today, we have huge perspectives how to use the remote assessment with satellite technologies, and I think that we use them for very small part, but these digital and satellite technologies can be useful for us to find dangerous territories, to work with polluted soils, and so for business and for public. I showed only two applications. Thank you for your presentation, and applause once again to our marvelous speaker, and we come to the next one. Thank you.